Okay. All right.
So not they didn't say yet here. They didn't say yet. Only Putman and
Right.
Worcester and Jersey, New Jersey, and Dutchess County in New York. They didn't say here yet. Don't exaggerate.
Good afternoon, everybody. And we are under currently a severe thunderstorm watch. There are warnings in surrounding areas. I'm going to have to brighten up my screen in a second. It seems like we're under the gun. Let's just say that we are under the gun, and Mom is panicking. She's saying, "Oh, there's severe thunderstorm warning in Dutchess County." Yeah, that's for the cells that are going on around, but the main line is coming through soon. It almost looks like Independence Day. It looks ominous as all heck. Um, so I am going to lower my TV so I don't hear my TV in the background. So I'm going to brighten up the screen. So I'll be right back. And I apologize for not doing any streams lately. I've been very busy with the radio station, filling in for race at times during the week, and of course, my Friday, Saturday, and Sunday usual stuff going on. Uh, just messaging somebody who's coming on the show Friday, actually. Alan Pacheco will be the guest on Patrice Sheridan's show. And you can see how these clouds are just whipping. Um, and yeah, Al, you've been getting smacked up there in Poughkeepsie. We've been a little lucky. We did get a nice thunderstorm earlier, but this main line is coming, and you may be getting hit. It just a big cluster of storms just passed to my west, moving northeast, so you might get clipped by that. So hopefully we won't have any tornadic activity because they're predicting isolated tornadoes with this system because we have moist southeasterly winds coming up. Meanwhile, we've got this cold front coming from the northwest. If you combine those winds, you know what you get. You get rotation in the atmosphere. So it's just whipping by these clouds. Actually, the wind is picking up a little bit right now. So yeah, we got a nice view of outside. The camera's protected indoors. We're protected indoors. I hope Al's okay. Also, I don't know if he's working right now or if he's home. Hopefully, he's got the day off. Yep, he's getting hit right now. Um, so, yep, it looks like we've got some activity going on here. So, I'm trying to figure out how I can find the link. Somebody post a link to this stream because I'm having an issue trying to get it for some reason. No idea why. So somebody post the link of the stream so I can put it in Facebook. Thank God that Al is off. A lunatic, share me the link to this YouTube thing because I really have issues with this. I really don't like using this. I should have used the other one, but it doesn't matter. Um, I'm trying to see if I can find. Okay, I guess that's it. View on watch page all the way on the bottom. That would help. And there it is. Al is off. Oh, that's so much better. A lunatic, share me the link to this YouTube thing. Lisa in the UK. And issues with this. I really don't like using this. I should have used the other one, but it doesn't matter. On my Facebook as well. I'm trying to see if I can find. And hopefully, like I said, it won't get too crazy with the wind, and I guess that's it. all the crazy
view on
activity.
watch page all the way on the bottom.
But
That would help.
we shall see.
And there it is.
Al
So
is
right now it's
off.
just chilling out and
A lunatic sent
preparing
share
for
me
the
the
storm.
link
But usually
to
these
the
kind of
thing
Lisa in the UK.
lines they go to
And
point,
so we'll see.
and it's definitely you can see the
I should have used the other
the
one.
clouds are moving
doesn't
from the south west,
Facebook as well.
moving
I'm trying
north
to see if I
east.
can
If you
find-
can
hopefully,
follow
like
me
I
on that.
said, it won't
Okay.
get too crazy with
There-
the wind, and I guess that's it.
Okay.
All the crazy activity.
That would help if I
all the way
mute.
on the
That'll okay. I muted it. It's been a while. That's probably why I'm so rusty. I did just mute it, but it shouldn't still come through because I don't have it on coming through my speakers or anything. So that's kind of odd that you are getting an echo, unless I have my camera on, which I'm sure I shut off the audio settings on the camera itself. Okay, now it's getting windy. Big time echo. All right, let's try something. Let's check the playback devices. And that might be the reason. Set up for KGRA. All right, I fixed the audio. Let's see if we still have the issue now. Oh, it might be in here. Nope, it can't be. Let's see. Okay. Better now. Okay. So Al right now up in Poughkeepsie is getting smashed. And it looks like it's just a matter of time before we get hit over here. Now I'm going to look at the radar and see what this radar is showing. The rain is coming down now. Mom's on the other side of the house. I could get her so nervous right now. I won't do it though. All I gotta say is the wind's picking up. It looks like we're gonna have a tornado. But this is something not to joke about, actually. I'm waiting for the weather to come up. Oof. I don't know if you can actually hear that. It is coming down. I don't know if my microphone is picking that up. Let's see. Watch The Wire. Oh, man. I'm waiting for the radar to come up. Even the Weather Channel is having issues right now, which is kind of odd. Let's try it again. Even the birds look like they're fleeing for their lives, taking cover. Yeah, the Weather Channel is, for some reason, not working. Oh, there it comes. Let's look at the map. Come on. It's taking forever. Okay. We got the radar map up now. Let's see how long this takes to load. Oh God, yeah. Al is definitely just got nailed with a line. A really thick line just went by Al. It's probably over his house right now. Let's see where this is moving. I will share my screen so you guys could see what I'm seeing on the radar. So let me go to monitor capture. And let's show you this radar screen. So Al is up here. This is where Al is. He's right in the blob. I am here. So let's see which way this line. This is the line that I'm concerned of right here. This is what I'm worried about. Not so much these clusters, but the main line. It almost has that bow effect. And let's see. I'm thinking down here is where it's going to catch me. By the time it makes its way northeast, it looks like Al's going to get smashed one after the other. All right, let's see. Let's see where this takes us. It's moving northeast. It's moving up this way. So let's see. These are some nasty storms. Yep. Okay. I have some developing right here to my southwest that popped up. This one. See, it's these individual cells. You really got to watch out for rotation. It's not so much the line, even though, of course, lines do create the curvature effect where that can be tornadic activity. The hook is what they call it. You really got to look for the hooks. Right where the lines start, you look for the hook. That's an indicator for tornadic activity. So you always look for that hook. But also, these individual cells that are popping up are very dangerous because they could definitely spawn rotation. So it's these guys right here and these little pop-ups right here that could be really dangerous. And they're heading my way, actually. This is just what Al experienced, and it blew up right where Poughkeepsie is. It blew up because there's Poughkeepsie on the other side of the river, actually. Right around here is where Al is. So Al just got inundated, but he still has this whole line still heading his way. All these storms in here, they're breaking up. They're losing their energy here a little bit. But it's these pop-ups that worry me, and then the main line. Let's zoom out a little bit. Let's see what we're working with here. Yeah, this is the line that's eventually going to make its way through. This is the main batch right here. Oh, man, look at that line. Yeah, this is not my concern. This is. Right down here. This eventually has to push its way east. So where this line goes, this way, if I had to guess based on where this is positioned, I would say this is what's going to get me down here by the time it makes its way northeast. This is probably eventually going to come up that way. So that's pretty much what's going on right now. We're going to be keeping our eyes to this radar, but these pop-ups got me concerned too. Let me zoom in a little bit to these. These are the ones got to watch. And I'm up here. And actually, there looks like there's a cell developing right over me right now. Let's wait till this goes in motion. The zooming in and zooming out is driving it nuts. So yeah, this is the concern right here for right now. But that main line is lurking to the southwest, moving northeast. And as you can see, oh my God, look at the camera. Let's get the camera going back. Let's stop sharing the monitor. Oh, you really can't tell. It is pouring right now. I should aim it down a little bit so you could see the tree. So yeah, it looks ow. All right, so what I'm going to do, first of all, I got to see where I'm at here. Would be nice if I had my thing in 1080. And Carmen, I believe it was Heidi that told me that it was either Mauricio's father or your father was ill. I hope speedy recovery. Prayers for whomever father it is. Hope everything's okay over there in California. And hello to Carmen and Mauricio. Let's just say a shout out to everybody. Lisa in the UK, Al up north, not that far up north. Hello to Tana and Gina and Rob. And let's see, Ian. Let's see who else. Ron. And I think we got everybody. Ryan, Tara. Looks like she's got some activity going on in Louisiana too. But that's not untypical for the Gulf area. Actually, there's a development near Cuba. I don't know. I haven't seen any forecast of where that's projected to go, but there is something going on in the Gulf right now. There's another one, depression in the Atlantic developing. I don't know what's going to happen with that. Hello to Jenny. And it is, wow. I'm sorry to hear that, Carmen. And again, prayers for your dad. And happy belated Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Let's see. It looks like it's actually brightening up out there. It's actually pouring. Let me put the camera down a little bit. When we start hearing thunder, again, another bird looked like it's fleeing for its life. When we start hearing the thunder, then we'll put the camera back up toward the sky. Right now, I'm trying to show you how it's pouring over here, because the camera should pick it up quite well. Look at that. It is just pouring right now. So, this is just that time when we're waiting it out and see if we get any kind of bad weather our way here. I mean, again, Al up in Poughkeepsie already got smashed once or maybe twice. And I am watching chat. Yes, I am. I'm trying to multitask here, doing a few things in the background. Yeah, it looks like it's starting to slow down. Heck no, it's still coming down. But oddly, the skies are brightening. This is the problem. When the sun comes back out, it's just re-energizing the atmosphere. And that's just going to make that line so much stronger. But we'll see. So I'm going to bring the lighting down a little bit because it's too glary in the sky so we can see what's going on. And I'll be right back. What's up, Dead Son? I have not checked the P.O. box yet. So maybe in a few days, maybe tomorrow, I'll go out and check for the parcel. Okay. And like I said, I've been busy. Hopefully, we'll be doing some sky watches in the near future. But it's odd. You can see there's breaks in the cloud, and it's it's bizarre out there right now. It's almost a sun shower. So we're just gonna see. Let me check the radar and see where we're at now with this cluster of storms going on. I'm gonna have to refresh it to see the latest radar. It's almost 4 o'clock. Oh, what did I just do? That was bad. Okay, we're gonna reconnect to the Weather Channel. And start the whole process over again. and see what it's looking like. The main thing too also is power. With high winds, trees down, power out, especially up here. Al, I'm sure you're aware of that. We always got to worry about power outages. Oh, wow. Wow. Let's see where this is moving. That line is coming. Let's see where we're at. This thing takes so long to load. Okay. Let's see it in motion now. And here comes the rain again. It looks like the bad cell is going to move to my east. It's just going to miss me. The next big one. Al, no luck for you. Actually, it's not too bad what's coming your way, Al. You just got through a major line just now. Major. If it hasn't moved through already. Let's shrink this out a little bit. Let's see where this main line is. The bad thing is that these storms are training. They're just flowing up. They're not moving through. They're flowing up. Until the main line comes through. Oh, wow. I don't like the way that looks. Near Allentown. There looks like a rotation near. Oh, God. There's 2 hooks. Oh, my God. There's 3 hooks. Oh, man. This is scary. I'm going to share the screen again. Just to give you guys a little perspective. Now, I'm going to wait till it loads to see if these hook effects went away in Pennsylvania. And they did. Oh, there's still a rotation, though. Oof. Where is that? If I'm in Coolbah in near Pennsylvania, New Jersey border, you have a possible hook going on. And I'm going to share my screen again so you guys could see what I'm seeing. That rain is still coming down. All right, let's do the monitor. And this is what you got to look out for. When you have these little hooks in the clouds, that's what you're looking for, the hook. These curvatures, that's not good. But when it starts turning purple, then it's really not good. And it's these individual cells. Now, I've got a couple of these cells coming my way, but it looks it's going to go east. Looks like this is going to go east. This one's just barely going to miss me, but this is the line I'm worried about right there. And I didn't like the way that looked tight in Pennsylvania for a second. It's these hooks that you got to watch out for, these little hooks. There's a hook. There's a potential hook formation. Nothing by us. These look like they're collapsing. But it's this big line right here. That's what I'm worried about. Oh, look at this. They got a bow effect. Let's get zoomed in a little bit more. I don't like this bow. That's high winds, usually, when they bow out like that. This is a nice little line here, too. So, yeah, it looks like the bulk of the storms are still coming our way. And it's moving more east northeast now. It looks like. Let's see. Let's follow it. Oh, there was a tight circle in there a second ago. Nope, they're still moving northeast. So let's see. I'm here. I would say right around there. This this is where it's going to get me right in here. If I had to guess, right around here, up, and any of these pop-ups. So that's what we're looking at right now. All right, let's dim the camera down a little bit. It definitely looks bad to the southwest. And hello to Keisha and Nancy and Jay. All right, so I'll be right back. I am going to reduce the camera gain. The sun is out. All right, let me lower this camera down a little bit. Don't know why I got that bar. Oh, that's because we're looking up. All right, we're gonna have to reduce these legs. Get the camera to hug the door. And we see as much sky as possible. Okay, so we'll keep it there right now. Keep an eye on the sky. That's a good picture right there. And hello to Lorraine. So, in the meantime, I'm going to air a show from this past Friday. It was Patrice Sheridan, Global Newsmaker Focus, and the guest was Stephen Bassett. And I know a lot of people have been talking about the so-called documents that were released, and I can tell you, speaking to individuals, which I won't mention names, they don't have too much credibility on these documents being valid. Let's just say that. There are a number of issues that they pointed out to me, which made sense. Um, One being that there was a lot of spelling errors. And like the person that told me, Bill, they wouldn't make those errors. When the documents are made, they proofread them to make sure that there is no kind of errors as far as misspellings and all that punctuation and yeah. So that was a red flag right away. They also told me if the person that just released this, if they knew who it was, with the state of what's going on right now with leaks and the example that was made out of that person in Florida, that person would be in jail right now. I mean, there's a lot of questionable stuff that's in those documents. And I'm going to play the show with when Stephen Bassett was on, and he discussed it. And Stephen Bassett has the Paradigm Research Group, and they're also looking at the documents. Stanton Friedman's looking at the documents. Richard Dolan's looking at the documents. They have other people looking at these documents to vet them. And I think it's best to just listen to what Stephen Bassett had to say because I think he pretty much nailed the four scenarios to the point where I said, you know what? That sounds about right. So I'm going to see if I can get the show file. And I, of course, being of KGRA, I am allowed to play any KGRA show I want, thanks to race, of course. And I'm just trying to find. Oh, it's not Fate Magazine. It's Global Newsmaker. This way I could chill out and watch the skies with everybody here. Where's Empire? Empire's leaving? Hello, Empire, and goodbye, Empire. Okay, so let's see. I got to find his show now. He's been on a few times, so I've actually got to find the right file. Here it is. Let's see if I get it to work now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Global Newsmaker Focus. Every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Global Radio Alliance, you will hear guests from a wide spectrum of fields talking about current events and developments that affect our world. Together, let's analyze the latest news and developments on Global Newsmaker Focus every Friday night at 8 p.m. And now, I give you your host for Global Newsmaker Focus, Patrice Sheridan.
Welcome, everyone, to this June 16th, 2017 edition of Global Newsmaker Focus, broadcast at 7 p.m. Eastern every Friday, PRG, with website at paradigmresearchgroup.org. Today's topics will include current news and developments and the continuing importance of disclosure. The guest details from his bio summary at paradigmresearchgroup.org include, quoting, Stephen Bassett is the executive director of Paradigm Research Group, founded in 1996 to end a government-imposed embargo on the truth behind the so-called UFO phenomenon. Stephen has spoken to audiences around the world about the implications of formal disclosure by world governments of an extraterrestrial presence engaging the human race. He has given over 1,000 radio and television interviews, and PRG's advocacy work has been extensively covered by national and international media. In 2013, PRG produced a citizen hearing on disclosure at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. On November 5th, 2014, PRG launched a congressional hearing political initiative seeking the first hearings on Capitol Hill since 1968 regarding the extraterrestrial presence issue and working to see that issue included in the ongoing presidential campaign. End quote. Also, to our listeners, a very important funding campaign on the PRG disclosure initiatives can be found at https://www.gofundme.com/and the truth embargo. Steve, thank you for joining us this evening. There's so much to discuss. Welcome.
Yes, Patrice, it's good to be with you as always.
Thank you, Steve. Always an honor. Now, Steve, PRG just published a June 15th press release entitled Possible New Majestic 12 Document Release. The experts at PRG are willing to help in this effort at vetting these documents. Your comments, please.
Well, this is an interesting development. We haven't had something like this in a while. A radio talk show host, Heather Wade, her show is Midnight in the Desert, which was Art Bell's show, and she's basically doing it now, but is working with him. A source known to her for 2 years sent electronically a 48-page document which has the cover classified ultra top secret, no dissemination or declassification, and it includes several internal, or I guess you could say, sub-documents regarding various events like Roswell and Aztec, New Mexico. And these are dated back as early as 47, or at least the events are from 47. And then there is a briefing document that is dated January 3, 1989, which is interesting. And we just got this. She put it up on the website, I think, 2 days ago. And it's downloadable, midnightinthedesert.com. And so PRG was obviously very interested. And Stanton Friedman has been contacted and has got the document in his possession. Kevin Randall, who is an expert on government documents and particularly in his field, is reviewing them. And Richard Dolan will be reviewing them soon, as is PRG. What needs to happen is that this document, this 48-page, needs to be assessed as quickly as possible, and the best possible determination made as to the quality of this document as evidence. On the plus side, the document was provided by someone known to Ms. Wade for 2 years, who is former military, and she is relatively highly confident that he is in fact former military. The person that quote, allegedly took the document from military files is a friend of this source who she has also talked to and is supposedly former military. Well, that's notable. The original set of MJ-12 documents, and this document, by the way, does refer to MJ-12 quite a bit. The original MJ-12 documents that are so famous, which have been reviewed extensively, turned up as microfiche in a mailbox, completely unknown source. So this is not the case here, so that's a plus. In the documents themselves, there are issues. And those issues are going to be emerging and discussed amongst I believe, the top people pretty quickly on a number of shows. Now, this is important. And let me, again, frame this a little bit more for your audience. When a document like this turns up, which has all the air of authenticity in terms of aging, and it's obviously a copy of a copy of a copy, and it's referring to events. There's a certain language about it which seems pretty sophisticated, or at least appropriate. There's only 4 explanations for it. One, it's a fully authentic document with no ulterior agenda other than it served a purpose at the time, that has been taken from files and has been provided to the public. 2, it is a government created disinformation piece designed to undermine the evidentiary process. It's what is called a limited hangout, but it is disinformation, which means that it is sophisticated. It includes information in that is very likely true. Could be even a lot of information that's quite true. But there will be what we call Easter eggs. There will be parts of it which are, to a researcher, a relatively trained researcher, knowledgeable about government documents and also the phenomena and the history of the phenomena, will be obvious as being ludicrous, ridiculous, extremely unlikely, which, of course, makes the document not useful. Well, it certainly makes the document to be fundamentally inauthentic. Why would the government do this? Because this is a very tried and true process at disinformation. They include these clearly not true elements, sometimes ridiculous elements, in a document which also refers to very real and actual events within both the in terms of the ET events as well as government reaction to them, in order to discredit the latter. Pollute it, in other words, guilt by association. Limited hangout is what it's called. And that's the second thing. The third possibility is that this document was created as a hoax by a citizen, independent of government, not paid by government, to undermine the research because they resent very much that people actually believe there's extraterrestrials, and they're certain there aren't. And this is their way of creating a problem. In other words, citizen-derived disinformation. And the fourth possibility, and it's the least likely of the four, is that one or more persons in the field who are interested in the subject, very supportive of this subject, in a very misguided attempt to improve or help the situation, has created this document to, quote, draw attention to the issue and what have you. These are the only four explanations for the existence of this document. The last one is the least likely. A private citizen going to this length, this amount of effort, which is considerable, is likely, but not particularly high probability. But government disinformation or actual real document, this is the two most likely possibilities and options, and they're about equal. I would put them about equal, right? What the percentage is, I don't know, maybe 40, right? 40% likely it's absolute real document, 40% that it is a disinformation document created by the government itself. So these are the four possibilities. And it's particularly important that if this document is disinformation, that people in the field are the first to recognize it and get it out to the public. There are other people who are not qualified to assess documents like this, which will undoubtedly be turning up on the internet in various ways, including on radio shows, who will then be making statements about this document, which are not grounded in anything substantive, could be ludicrous statements, which will just create problems. So we are working very quickly to have what we think are three very qualified people assess this document, and that's Dan Friedman, Richard Dolan, and Kevin Randall. And we'll be hearing from them soon. And then lastly, if it's real, it's very significant without question. It appears so far that this has not been seen before. In other words, it's new. It's not been out before. Know nothing about it, never seen it. And again, there's information here confirming some very important aspects of this phenomena. If it's disinformation, it's also significant. Meaning, why would the government do that now? What would be the reason that a disinformation effort like this would suddenly appear on the scene at this time? What's going on inside the government? There are a couple of possibilities here that might have prompted a government disinformation release. One is that we are approaching the 70th anniversary of Roswell. Roswell is referred in this document and discussed in this document as a fully legitimate case, fully legitimate extraterrestrial case. And we know that there's going to be about 50,000 people coming to Roswell. That always generates a lot of media, a lot of press, a lot of interest. So it could be just an effort to sort of diminish Roswell, the Roswell case, going into that. There's also the recent release of the documentary Unacknowledged, Stephen Greer's second documentary, which is getting a decent amount of viewage and is going to be on Netflix and what have you, raising a number of issues. It could be an attempt to undermine the impact of that film. Beyond that, also, as you know, over the last 6 months, there have been a number of very significant and powerful. There's been a number of things that have happened over the last 6 months, which are actually going back a year, which have stimulated this issue significantly. And that it begins with the Tom DeLonge statements back in June of last year that he was engaged by the Pentagon to release information on this issue. And has been doing that. He's got a book out. He's got a second book coming, documentary. This has been confirmed. You've got the repeated statements by the Clinton campaign, people within that campaign, that there is a ET connection to the Clintons, an interest in the subject by the Clintons. Of course, PRG was heavily involved in that. After the election, which he lost, PRG received a statement or a text from an insider that wanted to indicate that as of June 9th of last year, that there were people inside the Pentagon that were aware of this issue, knowledgeable about the ET issue, that were willing to work with the Secretary of Defense if they were approached.
Indeed.
And the reason that this message was being sent at that time was that they were preferring disclosure could get done under President Obama before the new president took over. That did not happen. 2 days before the inauguration, the CIA, in a remarkable maneuver, released 11.5 million pages of documents that had been available and declassified for a while, but very difficult to get to. You had to go through the National Archives. They put them on the net for everyone to access worldwide. And it made an announcement. This was 2 days before the inauguration, January the 18th. And these documents included a huge amount of material about psychic research, ET, UFO stuff, and what have you. That was notable. And then, obviously, the inauguration takes place, and we get the statement by Robert Bigelow.
Yes, I was about to mention that. Yes, I also have a question from my producer, but very quick comment, Steve. Your website, your press releases have discussed at length or to a very analytical degree the Robert Bigelow statements made in that May 28th CBS 60-minute report with Lara Logan. Please, details on the importance. I just love this multi-aspectual information.
Well, the reason I include it is that Bigelow is a billionaire, and he's a entrepreneur, space entrepreneur. But since 2000, he has been very closely connected to NASA because his projects, his space engineering, habitat projects, fully require NASA involvement and what have you, permissions. And as a result of the fact that one of his modules, his habitat structures, for the very first time was installed at the International Space Station just a short while ago, CBS interviewed him. And so I consider him, and he's a connected guy, so I consider him an insider. And so when he was interviewed, he was asked a UFO question, which he knew he was going to be asked. They discuss the topics ahead. They don't get into specifics, but they discuss the general areas they're going to inquire about. And because his engagement of the ET issue is well known, his creation, he formed NID, spent millions of dollars for the National Institute of Discovery Sciences back in the early 2000s. He was asked about it. What they didn't know was going to be his response. And his response to a question about the phenomena was that it's absolutely real. And then when when asked, gee, don't you think people might think you're a little crazy by saying that? He said, I don't give a damn. This was a very significant moment. This is a billionaire connected NASA contractor saying, absolutely, there's an extraterrestrial presence. I've done millions of dollars of research. It's a reality, and I don't care what people think. That took place just May 28, which has gotten a certain amount of play. And the only reason it didn't get a lot more play is because right now we're going through this 5-ring Trump-Russia investigation circus, which is just literally dominating certainly the television media from one end to the other. And so these series of events that have taken place are putting great pressure on the truth embargo and increasingly indicating that people on the inside, more and more people on the inside connected to the issue, are favoring getting the truth embargo done, moving on. When I was in London recently, I met with someone who is connected, pretty well connected person, and this person informed me there were a number of people in the Ministry of Defense in the UK that they want disclosure on the inside. So this document may be coming from a segment of the military intelligence community that doesn't like this process unfolding, doesn't like the fact that the truth embargo is under pressure. And this is sort of a somewhat last-ditch effort to once again muddy the waters. So it's significant in that regard. And we're looking at it, and we're going to obviously report as soon as possible what we know. And we may dig deeper. We may go for sources on this. If it is a government document provided anonymously, though from a known person, but name withheld, like in the names withheld in journalism sources for reporters and what have you, then it's understandable that those persons want anonymity. They're a little concerned for their personal safety. But if it's a hoax, if it's disinformation that's being put out, that's a little different. And so the sources may have a little more pressure on them to describe exactly how they came into these, who provided them. Are they the disinfo agents here, or are they a victim of the government disinformation program?
Thank you, Steve. Now, Steve, my producer's about to ask a question. I also wanted to note your outstanding website analysis on the importance of the unacknowledged special access programs. So much information there. Also, you have been a proponent of enabling individuals who might be whistleblowers to obtain a type of amnesty so that they would not be liable for prosecution. Now, Steve, my producer, I believe, has a very quick question for you.
Sure.
Then I want to get to your very important Russian trip. Bill.
Yes. Stephen, we hear a lot recently about the supposed leaks, the deep state within the government. And this may also be conducive to, like you mentioned, maybe some type of military personnel coming forward with a leak. Because since everything else is coming out, why not let's just throw this out there and put that out there? Now, my concern is what you mentioned as the other aspect. If it's part of the disinfo campaign, what if it's possible that they're aware that maybe an outside entity or a whistleblower may potentially be coming forward and releasing some type of information, and we'll throw this out there to confuse and, like you said, muddy the waters?
Well, this is in fact what a limited hangout is. If the government becomes aware, by whatever means, that some insignificant information that is classified may or is about to get into the public domain, they will put out something ahead of that,
Right.
which refers to it, but then includes a lot of silliness in order to corrupt the information as truth ahead of time. All right. So that's a possibility. But you've spoken to an even more important and larger point. Everyone, well, first of all, some nomenclature here. this term deep state is getting it's current, its use, and it's popular now, but it's not clear. The basic reference, the appropriate reference, is the military intelligence industrial complex, and all of the classified, whatever level, programs that exist within that complex. That is where the truth embargo resides. That is where the management of the ET issue resides, and so forth. Now, I call it a secret empire, if only to, I guess, to give it more of a political characterization. A secret empire sort of implies there's a problem here, right? Because generally secret empires is not something that you think of when you think of the U.S. Constitution and the American Republic. Richard Dolan has come to call this complex as a breakaway civilization. He's expanding on it and viewing it as even more independent of the U.S. government and the U.S. American people than I do. But he's basically referring to the same thing. And the deep state is really referring to the military intelligence complex. But now people are using it as a sort of a catch-all phrase, right, to refer to anything that's coming from off stage or injecting into the process. And so I'm not thrilled about that. So when it's confined to the military intelligence complex, they are obviously under assault. The abuse of secrecy and power, which has been going on for decades, is getting pushed back against by people, citizens. It was inevitable. It's taken quite a while, but finally it's happening. It takes a lot of courage. It also involves some sophisticated technology, which wasn't available, just a couple decades ago. A technology that WikiLeaks is used to create an entire kind of alternative journalistic reality with servers in multiple countries and encrypted protection and what have you. And then you've got the ability, say, of a Snowden to walk out of the NSA world as a contractor, but carrying a huge amount of documents on a simple disk. Again, this kind of technology has made that possible, but then it also takes some courage. We've had major document releases from multiple directions, and a number of whistleblowers have come forward. And all this means is that people are pushing back against the military intelligence complex and its abuse of power, secrecy, surveillance, the whole nine. And obviously it's war making, much of which is done without proper public vetting, and oftentimes based on lies and disinformation. And the truth embargo is sitting in the middle of this, becoming increasingly more vulnerable. One of the reasons the truth embargo is still in place is that these major whistleblowers and entities like WikiLeaks, like Anonymous, whatever Anonymous is, and the other whistleblowers that have come forward have not gone in that area. The closest thing we've had to, I guess you could say, a release with an ET connection of late, without having to go all the way back to some document releases back in the 60s, 70s, is the ET references in about 95 of the 50,000 John Podesta emails that were ultimately released prior to the election by WikiLeaks. But that wasn't the focus of that. The focus was the campaign. But those emails confirmed a number of things, including the Tom DeLonge Clinton, or rather Tom DeLonge Pentagon connection.
And the Edgar Mitchell as well.
With the major generals, yes, the two major generals. Steve, let's now talk about your remarkable week-long trip to Russia this past May. That visit included your interview for a documentary in Moscow on the issue of the extraterrestrial presence, disclosure politics, and the truth embargo. Your press release notes the interview will be broadcast this August in Russian. Shortly thereafter, we're hoping to have an English translation.
Certainly. Again, and this has all been, and for people that want to follow this, they can get my updates. They can go to paradigmresearchgroup.org, and in the lower left there is a subscription link. They can just easily subscribe to the update. Doesn't cost anything. Paradigmresearchgroup.org. Make a long story short, when Clinton lost the election, the disclosure process took a serious setback because the media was ready to engage her on the ET issue at a very intense level. Not only that, the evidence for me was straightforward that she was planning to be the disclosure president, and they were just trying to get to the White House without having to uncork the champagne bottle until they arrived, right? In other words, they didn't want to celebrate their victory until they actually were in the White House, and it didn't happen. And that was a huge setback for the issue. Secondly, we had a new president. And this president appeared to be very problematic, as well as his entire administration as it developed. Not only was it problematic, but there's no connection at all between that administration and the ET issue, past, present, or expected. And so, from a standpoint of a disclosure advocate, this is a bad scenario. And so what to do? Well, one of the first things was I needed to assess what was going to happen with this administration, because clearly if it was going to be extent for the next 4 years, then it was going to have to be engaged on the ET issue, and how to do that, and so forth. So I'm thinking about that, and so I went silent for a couple of months, and really wasn't saying much of anything or publishing much of anything. After 2 months, I had arrived at a decision, and what that decision was, or what that assessment was, is that the Trump administration was more than just problematic. The Trump administration was an existential threat to the American Republic. And the strategy for PRG was going to be to focus its attention internationally as regards other nations and what may happen there, because any number of heads of state could disclose the ET presence, and stay out and do nothing direct to develop a disclosure process in the Trump administration. And the reason for that was that my conclusion was that if disclosure were to take place from whatever source, while President Trump was in the White House, he would be the post-disclosure president. He would be dealing with the post-disclosure world. And to be quite frank, the post-disclosure world will be one of the greatest challenges any head of state of any nation has ever faced in human history. It will be an extraordinary time, and whoever is the head of state of their country will have to bring to the table the absolute best they can bring. They have to have all the skills that you would need: intellect, understanding of history and politics, vision. To the extent that they've got that, they will probably be an asset in the post-disclosure world. Trump has none of those things, and as a result, it would be extremely, how would you say, detrimental in my view for him to be the disclosure president. Okay, but still, if he's going to be the president for 4 years, what do you do? Well, the fact is that after a couple of months, it was pretty clear to PRG that President Trump would not serve out his term, and in fact, very unlikely he will be in the White House at the end of this year. I think he'll be gone by October. So, given that, we've waited 70 years for the truth embargo to end. 4, 5, 6 more months delay in terms of American approach or U.S. government approach is not unreasonable. And so I shifted everything pretty much internationally. And the first thing I did was go to London for 6 weeks. And while in London, I met with several people, one of whom is very much connected to former members of the military and intelligence in the UK. And we discussed the possibility of an event, significant event there. Now that's on indefinite hold. However, in the process of the discussions, I learned that a number of people in the MOD are favoring disclosure. There's a document release that's going to be coming out, a release of documents. They've actually been delayed for quite a while, but they have now promised they'll be released after the UK election, which is over. So they're going to turn up soon. This person already had those documents, which was notable. And that's interesting. And so that part of the trip went very well. But then I went to Moscow. And the long and the short of that is that a network there wanted to interview me. And they were happy to interview me in London. But I said, no, I'll only interview in Moscow. And okay, it was agreed. I had to go on my dime because, it was my idea. So that's okay. And I spent a week in Moscow. And while there, I gave an extensive interview, an hour and a half at least, covering a lot of subjects and some politics, which will be controversial. And that interview was scheduled to air in Russia in May. And I kept very quiet about it, trying to keep low profile. And I still do not mention the name of the network. But their season was ending in May. They really wanted to make this part of their new season, the opening of their new season, because they think it's going to be fairly well received, or there'll be a lot of interest. And so it's not going to get broadcast till August. So I am talking about it, but in a limited fashion. And then I'm going to get, hopefully, the English version of this interview at that time, which I will make available in the U.S. to the media. Now, the most important thing of the many things that were discussed in this interview, the most important was I did something that I have done in English interviews, English language interviews for years. But it's never happened in Russian media. No one has ever said these things in Russian media, certainly on Russian soil or outside of Russia. And then I discussed in some length the pros and cons of Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, making the announcement of the extraterrestrial presence. In other words, being the disclosure head of state. And that's going to be interesting. And then finally, Patrice, a supporter of mine based out of Italy, set up a meeting with 6 groups of individuals engaging the ET issue in Russia. 6 meetings, 2 days. Most of these groups included former Russian and Soviet military or intelligence people who had been dealing with the issue when working in the government. And then afterwards they continued. And so we had some chats, and I kind of let them know what I was doing. There's a limited amount that you can accomplish in a single meeting when you're having to use translation. But I guess you could say it was kind of a get to know. But the reason I took those meetings is that while I had no idea what might come of them, I knew full well the Kremlin would know about them. And that's what I wanted. And so that's where that is. And that was the enemy Russia from May, what were the dates on that? I think May 3 to May 10. It's now June. That, again, we're still a good probably 4 weeks before that comes out. And I'm prepared to go back to London. I'm prepared to go back to Moscow. I'm prepared to go to any country, including India, where I've had some queries. Even China, though there's nothing there, but it's certainly a country that is a player here, and continue to pursue these international possibilities. The United States has had 70 years to end this truth embargo that it has managed and maintained and started, and it has refused to do so. The first 44 years, we kind of give the government that. Cold War, lots of nukes. Everybody's afraid they're all going to die. But the Cold War's been over for 25, 26 years, and they still haven't made the announcement. And they're sitting on sequestered technology, and it's become a joke and an abomination. And so if the U.S. government won't do it, another nation will do it, and that's fine with me. And that's where PRG's position is right now.
Thank you, Steve. We do have an upcoming question from our show producer, Bill Skywatcher. I wanted to note the very interesting coverage in a June 1st article by John Austin of the UK Express. Also, very quick question, that being right now, Europe is in the throes of chaos with the changes there in demographics, other results from the influx there, the wave of new people. Do you think that the United States really remains could be really the strongest proponent and director of disclosure?
I prior to the election of last year, November 8th, the U.S. was absolutely the leading candidate to be the disclosure country. Since then, I consider it not the leading candidate, meaning that it's more likely now that another nation will go first than the United States. And let me point out that the principal culprit behind the chaos in Europe, the immigration crisis, the diaspora,
yes,
is putting enormous pressure on the entire European Union, has helped lead to the Brexit victory, which is a narrow victory in that election. And but the immigration and refugee crisis was able to put that election over the top. So creating the whole Brexit fiasco, which is going to be a major problem. The U.S. is the principal culprit here. It is our policies, which really go back to the 60s, but were doubled down on by the great leader George W. Bush, when a man who like Trump should have never been in the White House. He wasn't qualified to be president. Who for probably personal childish reasons, because he was kind of a man child, invaded and destroyed Iraq, and then disastrously followed up that war with a set of policies which guaranteed that the chaos that was created by the Iraq war would spread like a metastasized cancer throughout the entire Middle East. A decision so disastrous, based on lies, that it should have resulted in criminal action, but never did. And he walks the free earth right now. Since then, there's almost no part of the Middle East we haven't bombed, and then other nations have participated because they want to be good allies, the UK being the worst example, and they're bombing. And then, of course, at some point, it got so chaotic and complicated that the Russians actually came in. Generally, they've been staying out of that stuff, and they're bombing. And the number of men, women, and children that are being killed is just beyond disgusting. But understand that the chaos that was created by that Iraq war of 2003 ultimately leads to the terrorist groups, particularly ISIS, as well as in a general increase in terrorism and so forth. And ISIS is probably the ugliest, nastiest, most vile entity we have seen to date, and yet it has a political basis to it. It is not an appropriate response. Well, let me put it this way: it's not a surprising response to the policies of the West towards the Middle East. except they're just extreme. The worst of the worst have been attracted into this particular ideology, and they're committing extraordinary crimes against humanity. But let me be clear. Whether you cut somebody's head off or blow them up with a cluster bomb, they're still just as dead. And the failure to make these moral equivalencies is making it impossible for American citizens and UK citizens to properly chastise and address these terrible policies that the government's following. We're being marinated in propaganda in order to keep us docile while this slaughter goes on. And what I made clear in Russia in that interview, and I made it clear here, that U.S. policies, and I emphasize U.S. policies because this nation is acting so out of character. I mean, if this nation was a brutal, vicious empire, and no one doubted that, then fine, we would be doing what we do. But we're supposed to be the shining city on the hill. We're supposed to be the best of the best. That the policies that this nation is following and the systemic dysfunction that is growing is going to bring the United States and possibly the globe to a catastrophic outcome, and that this process is well underway and maybe even irreversible. And finally, that the only thing that has a chance to change this course, reset, I guess you could say, the whole geopolitical reality, is the disclosure event, the announcement of the ET presence. And obviously the very same governments that are committing these ridiculous atrocities and promulgating these awful policies are maintaining the truth embargo, which is probably the one thing that could save them. And so I consider the situation extremely grave. Recently, a former CIA director said that he felt that the risk of nuclear war right now was the greatest he's ever seen. But the head of Homeland Security just a week ago said to one of his colleagues, knowing that reporters were present, that if you knew what I would know, you wouldn't even leave your house in the morning. We're getting all these hints repeatedly in various ways that the American people, British people, continue to sort of sit there and stare with a blank expression, mesmerized by the bright, shiny objects that are turning up every day on television, and not seeing that they are headed over the cliff.
Steve, we have a key question coming in from Bill. Bill, would you like to deliver this question? Should I read the text? It's a brilliant one from
Yes,
Steve.
I just want to preface it by saying that in the current state of our government and some of the governments that are going on around the world, I think that when we look at disclosure, we have to consider the government's control over the masses, the manipulation and censorship of the media, also the role of religious institutions and their control over the masses as well. But at the same time, we see that there's a nationalist movement going on, say here in the United States and in the UK and in Italy and some other areas. France recently pretty much put that to bed for at least for now. But my question is it possible that some of the countries will come together and, like the intelligence agencies, etc., to maybe come together and change the focus from a nationalist type of scenario to more of a global issue by disclosing this information, thus changing the whole complex of what's going on around us today?
It is possible, almost certain, that there are people within governments that understand this and want this truth embargo to end. We're getting a lot of indications of that, but they do not have the means to do it right now. And the standard operating procedure remains, and the leadership is following the standard protocols. So we're kind of at a very significant point here, a decision point. And it's not clear which way it's going to go. As far as the nationalism, look, there's nationalism and then there's nationalism. There's toxic nationalism and there's healthy nationalism. Right now, we're going through an era of toxic nationalism, which usually leads to war. And the principal force behind this toxic nationalism is the Middle East chaos and the massive immigration crisis and refugee crisis that has been created there. Um, there's always a certain amount of toxic nationalism, but that kind of thing provides the kind of food, it provides the nourishment to allow it to grow. And so the toxic nationalists in America have expanded, gotten a little more bold. They're feeding off of the outcomes of these terrible policies. And that ultimately leads to war or worse. So, again, we do have a pretty good picture of this whole thing, thanks to the fact that we have access to huge amounts of information. There are plenty of people that see this larger picture. But they don't happen to be the people in Congress. They don't happen to be the people in the White House. And the editors of the papers, whatever they know, and I think they know a decent amount, are not prepared to really challenge the system yet. And certainly the heads of the networks are not. We're getting some good, decent print coverage of some of this. There was an extraordinary documentary on National Geographic Channel called The Fall of Iraq and the Rise of ISIS, which I recommend everybody watch at least twice. This was not propaganda. This was a decent telling by an American program, American Network, National Geographic, and if you watch it, it makes you sick to your stomach. And so there's little, moments and things that are happening which make you feel like, okay, maybe we can get out of this mess, but it's simply not enough.
Now, quickly, Joe, my last question is, with the current state, I think a lot of people are, like you said, they're seeking the truth embargo. And do you think that they use this fear propaganda as far as, oh, we can't release disclosure, we can't talk about it because it's going to cause chaos amongst the population?
Yeah, sure.
Do you think that we, humanity in general, is ready for disclosure?
Humanity's been ready for disclosure for decades. All of the talk you hear about disclosing or providing the truth on this, the chaos in the religion, the uncontrolled population, economic collapse, is all propaganda. It's nonsense. But it's effective. Look, this is the most profound event in human history we're facing. It's easy to make that case.
Agreed.
But if the human race had bought into that kind of thinking, we would be nowhere today. We'd still be beating sticks against rocks and living in caves. So the same argument's put up over and over again. If we build airplanes and fly, major chaos. If the car was going to bring major chaos, on and on. The one thing that's brought major chaos is certainly the advancement of military technology and weapons of war, certainly. But the people that have been most responsible for that are the ones that keep saying that the truth will create massive chaos. However, bombs, drones, nuclear weapons, this won't create chaos, and we got to have lots of those. So it's all crap. It's essentially a bankrupt argument. The entire truth of
okay, I am going to stop that show. It's toward the end. And yes, you can hear their opinions, and definitely we can agree to disagree on certain topics, and it's just giving them the exposure and seeing what they have to say, their perspective, and excuse me. I still find it interesting about some of these people that are in ufology and their opinions. What I was more interested in was the documents that were released, and that was pretty much where my interest was in the whole interview. So now I'm going to play a show from a week ago. It's Starborn Support, when we had a roundtable kind of a discussion between the two hosts and myself. And we were venting. Let's just say we were venting without getting into specific names. And you'll see what I mean. And Julia really vented big time. So let me see if I can find the roundtable discussion. It should be right here. Let's see.
RA Radio. This is the Starborn Connection. Join your hosts, Michael Austin Melton and Julia Yesner Weiss.
Good evening, everyone. You are listening to the Starborn Connection radio show right here on KGRA Alternative Talk Radio, your connection to the multiverse. My name's Michael Austin Melton. I am your co-host along with Julia Yesner Weiss. Julia, how are you tonight?
Good. Lots to talk about tonight.
Yes, tonight. And, of course, our esteemed producer and slash co-host, Bill Skywatcher. How are you, Bill?
Good evening to both of you.
Okay. Well, we have a little bit of a different show tonight, I guess. I guess you could say, in a way that we're upset and need to speak out about what we are seeing in the UFO field as of late. I guess it might be a bit more than upset. I think maybe the better and more precise word lately is dismayed. Now, you know, dictionary.com defines dismayed as to break down the courage of completely as by sudden danger or trouble, or to dishearten thoroughly, or to surprise in such a manner as to disillusion, to alarm or perturb. And I think all of those words kind of underscore our feelings tonight. After you hear what we have to tell you tonight and discuss, I would bet money on the fact that you'll feel dismayed as well, if you're not already familiar with everything. Julia and I really don't like to be the bearer of terrible news, events, or whatever like that, but, you know, if someone
As you
doesn't
can
call
hear,
attention to it, it will
I'm getting
only
alerts on my
accelerate,
phone.
causing eventually more damage that can be repaired. A while back, if you recall, I don't know, might have been a year ago, I spoke about infighting and how ego can interfere with the search for the truth, and how some feel the objective, and these are a handful, is to make money or sell books and merchandise or hold conferences that cost hundreds to get into, and when you walk out, did you get your money's worth? And so very true is the fact that many researchers and authors will say, quite frankly, that ufology is not where you want to be if you want to make a profit. Book sales do little to offset the costs of driving or flying from conference to conference. So why do they do this year after year, and some for a lifetime? And you know who I'm talking about. Well, it's for love of exploration, possibilities, love of discovery, love and respect for the truth. They care about the truth. These are people you should be listening to. Tonight we're going to address some problem issues we see, as do many others, that threaten to bury the truth permanently by some whose goal it is to destroy the truth, disengage people from the subject, and thrust the study of UFOs, aliens, and abductions into obscurity at best, or into the realm of comedy in the worst. Allow me to give you a very good example of one organization that truly operates for love and truth and not for monetary gains. And I'm not trying to sell or promote. I'm just giving you an example. Every year, Audrey and Debbie Hewins and the Starborn support team put together and host the Experiencers Speak Conference. It used to be a full 2-day affair, but due to costs, it's been reduced to an evening and a day. There are always plenty of fascinating speakers, mostly experiencers themselves, plenty of activities, meals, and excitement. The admission they charge does not even begin to pay the cost of having a conference like this. The truth and the hunt for the truth is the focus. And as a matter of fact, the Hewins family usually donates thousands of dollars to cover the costs after it's all said and done. So there's no money to be made, and yet everybody walks away from Experiencers Speak satisfied because they feel the love and family atmosphere the conference promotes. That's my example. That's how conferences should be. Not the main focus of tonight's argument, but still an important aspect of the conversation. And what I'm going to do now is open up the show to Julia and Bill and allow them to talk about their grievances and things that they want to talk about. And then before we're done, I have a terrible thing to discuss with you, and it involves Ilona and Ivana Podraska, something very, very serious, and I think the community needs to know about it, because if they don't and something happens, well, that's another loss. Julia, it's all yours.
Oh boy, it's been a hell of a week, hasn't it?
It sure has.
Well, we kind of feel the need, since there's been several things that blew up in the community. And it was very interesting because Audrey Hewins told me, a friend of hers in the community, an experiencer who's very psychic, said, I think it was 2 years ago, that there's going to be a lot hitting the fan. A lot of people will be exposed for lack of a better word, not telling the truth. People that have written books, people that have been very well respected on TV. We'd be really surprised who they are, and that the organization MUFON would be attacked. And it's interesting because it all happened this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And okay, so I really felt I need to say something, but I want everybody to know I'm going to be very careful, because it's not what I want to hurt anybody. I don't want to hurt anybody, and I don't want to hurt an organization, because I am a MUFON State Section Director of Pennsylvania. So that's one of my hats. I have a lot of hats.
Don't we all?
So, but I think as a communications person and getting the truth out there, there's a lot of rumors. You know, not everybody's Facebook friend, but Facebook hit the fan this week. And energetically, I know exactly what's going on. People are gone nuts. And it's like any organization that's run by human beings, there's going to be people that are really good, and then there's going to be people that aren't really good for the organization, or people in leadership that are not really good for the what do they call it? Not the motto or the organization, but like the tagline or their purpose. So, you know, I'm basically a loyal person when I'm a member of something, you know, but I've seen a lot of things. And it is my wish for MUFON to continue on and to grow and to be a really important part of the UFO community, and to work with other organizations such as Free, Starborn Support. The important thing is to get people in there that have open minds and really know that, you know, it's more about the community all coming together than individual egos. So that's what I have to say to that. And I'm going to be really careful. I'm not going to mention names, because this is really not about so much this person that caused a lot of this. It's what happened afterwards. And so, you know, people are like, well, what happened? Most people know what happened, but for those of you that are not attached to Facebook, you know, Facebook and Twitter can be wonderful things. It connects so many organizations, so many people. I can't believe the amount of connections that I have through Facebook. We get our guests through Facebook. It's a really great way of like-minded people reaching out. Unfortunately, as we know, it can be used in a negative way. What had happened in the past, I guess it's the past week, my state director of Pennsylvania, I'm not going to mention his name, And I feel really sorry for him. I honestly feel kind of heartbroken for him because I don't think he understands why it all happened. And it may take him some time. But we're living in a new age now. And he's like part of the old school. He's not really the mentality of the old school. And I get it. You know, everybody has a right to their beliefs and opinions, and they certainly do. The problem is that when you write certain things on Facebook that offend other people, you're a leader of an organization of some sort, you're alienating the people that don't believe that don't follow your politics and don't follow certain ideas you have. So, like myself, I have 3 organizations. I'm Secretary of Stormwater Support, which is, I really haven't written anything down, but I have.
Oh, you know.
And, you know, I represent KGRA Radio, Starburn Connection. I represent MoveOn. I represent me. So when I'm on Facebook, and believe me, folks, I have political beliefs. My religious beliefs are more spiritual, but I have my ideas. But I would never go on Facebook. And in the past, I have put political things, but I've never, ever, ever called somebody a name because they didn't believe what I said.
Oh, God.
Or, you know, I never put anybody down that did not believe me. But I have learned that I do not post anything political, anything religious. I'm really careful about dirty jokes. I do not post them. I do not post pictures of myself showing it much cleavage. Nobody would want to see it anyway, but I'm just saying, I'm trying to be funny, but I've seen it. I've seen people post really racist pictures.
Yeah, I know
But
what you're talking
here's
about.
why, folks. Nobody's going to believe me and what I'm trying to put out there in the universe. You know, my goal is heaven on earth and really raising people's vibrations, getting the ascension process in. You know, I talk about meditation, all these retreats I go on. You think anyone's going to believe anything I say if, you know, I'm dressed with half my boobs out or, you know, I look ridiculous? No. Is anyone going to believe me if I'm going to write a political post and say, well, I'm this way, but you're horrible if you're this way? No. So I represent these 3 things, and I'm very, very careful as to what I post. And I'm very careful as to what I post personally. Oh, I had dinner with my son. Yeah, but I'm not going to say, oh, I got so drunk and I'm falling down. You know, kids, I want the millennials that are listening, if there are any.
I'm sure there are.
Realize how, when you post something on Facebook and you put pictures up there, when you're looking to get a job, that's the first place they look. And if they see, hey, you know, they're always out partying. We're a very conservative law firm. We need people, you know. I'm just saying that you have to be really careful because you can lose a job. Or there's been people that have been fired for Twitter posts, and they'll be drunk and go on there. And believe me, folks, happy hour. Believe me, I've made plenty of posts. I feel like I'm drunk. Believe me, my fingers are going crazy. But yeah, I've made posts on happy hour, and I won't do that again because, you know, it's just a side of me, you know, that's past. That's in the past.
Hey, Julia.
Yeah.
You were talking about millennials, and I think it's important to point out the fact that, you know, we want to make sure that millennials understand that we see these problems because who in the future, who are going to be running these organizations? You know what I mean? So you want to make sure that we stand up tall and point things out.
Right. So you do have to have an opinion, of course. But you have to understand, there's a lot of people in the UFO field that maybe are, I know a few people that are accountants or lawyers, and they have two Facebook pages. They have their UFO stuff, and then they have their corporate stuff, because they're too afraid for it to, and I get it. I'm fine with that, you know. So anyway, what had happened is, this state director, he very rarely goes on Facebook, but when he does, it's always a firestorm. So he's very political, and he wrote. I'm not going to even go into the politics. I'm just going to say occasionally he'll write things, and then he'll call like the ones that don't agree with him the snowflakes and this, that, and the other thing. And I didn't really respond to that because I know what happens with Facebook. You have 100 comments back and forth. It's ridiculous. It's drama. We don't need it. So, you know, I let him have his, you know, it's his Facebook page. He can do whatever he wants, which is correct. So then he does a post on, I guess he saw some, I'm not going to read the whole post. I'm not going to do that. In general, it seemed like a racist post. He saw a Netflix thing that, I don't know, had something to do with black people or black power. And he was going on and on about how the white man doesn't, you know, it's not a white man's world anymore, or whatever it was. He went on and on and on. And I read it, and I was like, oh, here he goes again. He's going to get in a lot of trouble for this, but I'm not touching it. So what had happened was there was a firestorm. He did take the post down, but people, they screened it. They screenshot it. Mm-hmm. And then there were so many people in the community, major people, like Richard Dolan, Karen Dolan, Miriam, all these people. There were like 6 original people that had long posts condemning that, and that they felt MUFON should do something because they felt really offended by it. And finally, after all was said and done, Jan finally made a statement. Jan's the head of MUFON, Jan Harzan. And he made a statement. I'm sorry. Before that, there was an apology, but it was a half-assed apology. It was like, I'm so sorry I offended everybody. But all these people that are against me are just as much haters. So it really wasn't really an apology. So then a lot of speakers were backing out. That, you know, there were so many people writing to Jan. I thought he was a really nice guy. I went to Area 51 with him. In general, he's a very nice guy. And believe me, this puts everybody in an uncomfortable position.
Oh yeah, his hands are tied almost.
And I think he didn't have any other thing to do at that point. But he made a statement that whatever this guy writes on his Facebook page is his right, and basically he wasn't really going to do anything until they lost some speakers.
Right.
And a lot of people weren't going to renew, and there were several state section directors that were resigning, and I was kind of thinking of resigning. Not just because of that, but that was like the tip of the iceberg. But, you know, I'm more into the spiritual stuff, but I do like the camaraderie of MUFON. So anyway, you know, it was just getting me so upset. So I finally made a statement, which basically was what I just said about be careful what you write on Facebook. And I really felt bad. I didn't, you know, I know what he's like. I went to him, We've gotten in many arguments. We agree to disagree. The biggest issue I had with him was his point of view about UFOs being all abduction and alien contact is demonic. Yeah. And he had last year at the conference, he was saying that now he's going back to the Catholic Church, and he really put free down. And I said to him, how much abduction research have you done? And he was like, well, the Benny and Bordy Hill. I said, one sensationalized case you've done. Have you talked to the hundreds and thousands of people that Free talked to, that Audrey talks to, that Starburn talks to? I'm sorry, but he doesn't do any research. So he writes stories, a couple books about UFO cases that we've heard about over and over and over again. So anyway, we've had our disagreements, but I really felt like, God, this is bad. And people are still, it's a week later, people are still talking. So what Jan did was he did take him away from the state director. He's no longer the state director. However, there's a possibility that I think there were two other positions that he still held, but not in a leadership position. Just, he is a lifelong member. We're not going to take that away from him. I mean, he paid for it. So, it doesn't matter what somebody personally believes. It's just that if they're in the public eye. So, so I felt really, really heartbroken that it had to happen this way. And he still doesn't get it. But he also, I will say this because it really kind of pissed me off. And he also, Karen Dolan had,
oh man,
he said, but it was nasty.
Mm-hmm.
Karen had a beautiful thing that she wrote, and he went in there and called her some names, and then he made some personal comments which were extremely uncalled for. Now, I want to say this. Karen Dolan, I respect her probably more than any other woman in...
And she's a lovely person.
In the industry.
Yeah.
She's a very quiet person. And, when you're quiet, I think you say more. And not only is she physically an incredibly beautiful woman, she just is inside and out. When you see her, she's just such a lovely lady. For him to attack her...
That was bad.
Yeah. He did take it down, but she did a screenshot. See, people, you see what I mean?
You have to be careful.
2 seconds.
Yep.
Okay. So we're talking hundreds of people, maybe thousands, of the Facebook feeds of all these people. And then more people came out. And just about everybody we know on the UFO speaking circuit, including KGRI Radio, Ray Hobbs, wanted to sever ties and stated that.
Yep.
So now I don't know what's going to happen now that I spoke to the new state director, and I had some issues with transparency with MUFON, which he alleviated. Anybody can really, if you're a member, you can go in and you can, through the case search, you can see the investigation, the outcome. That was a question that a lot of people had. The special group that they have that goes in and does investigations, these are highly skilled people. And there was this issue that no one ever knows about that. That's not true. That those cases, when they're finally done, are on the website. So let's just clear that up. The problem is, so they did say that whenever they get new investigators, they will put in their handbook to be careful about the Facebook posts. Now, folks, you can believe anything you want, and you certainly can post anything you want on your page. But that's not what we're saying. We're just saying, understand the backlash and understand it's one thing to have a political opinion. It's another thing to call somebody, names because they don't agree with you. So that's all. It's just use some intelligence when you're speaking your mind. I mean, I see posts all the time where people are very eloquent. They don't believe the same thing I believe, but I honestly, I'm looking at what they're saying. I'm going, they have a point because they expressed it in an intelligent way and they didn't put my beliefs down.
Right. So,
that's just what I'm saying. So right now, I think MUFON, I think the reputation is kind of ruined. I think it is. And I think it's going to take a long time to build that up. And how they're going to build that up, connect with
yeah.
Well,
support.
Something?
Use more speakers. Forget these old cases that, were like 40 years old. Get new people, get new experiencers. People want to hear the experiencers. Want to hear, we know about the nuts and bolts, just like myself.
They want to hear about the people that have experienced
Exactly.
We
things
want to hear about
firsthand.
the message. We want to
Right.
hear more about, well, what's the message you've been taking? What do what's the message? Maybe if you have 5 or 6 experiencers, here's a message. What's happening to the world, so anyway, that's, I'm just saying, I'm not happy because I was hoping this guy would get it together and understand why people are upset, but he doesn't, because his opinions are his opinion. He caused his own demise. Unfortunately, he affected a very large organization, and there are so many incredible investigators in MUFON. And honestly, there are a lot of times, I express certain things, and I always get, I never felt it was, it's always been, it's their personal life. It has nothing to do. It's not just about him. It could be about other people, because I'm really a corporate person. I feel, I don't know. I've been in the corporate world for 30 years, so it's in my head that you act, when you're at a conference, you act a certain way. And, I don't know. That's just me. But it's a real shame. And Mike, do you have any thoughts?
Well, I think Bill had something he wanted to say.
Actually, I have a couple of follow-up things because you both brought up excellent points. The first thing that I want to mention is, as a person like myself, now I'm looking at this through a different perspective because I'm not affiliated with this organization.
Right.
But I've had experiences in my life. I've had sightings. I do sky watches. This is a passion for me. This is not something that I do, even for the network, that I do the production aspect or being part of shows. I do it because I truly have a passion. I want the answers. That's why I do this. What is kind of disconcerting about the whole thing is when you have ego-driven agendas and everybody's going out there and it seems like one wants to be the voice over the other. And instead of everybody being on the same page, working to the same goal to expose the truth, to get some credibility in this, you have instances or actions by individuals that kind of put a black eye on the whole thing. And I'm just going to use this as an example. We know what happened with the Roswell thing last year or the year before, where it was a mummified child. Those are the kind of things that give this whole thing a black eye. And you know what? The last thing we need is any kind of negative publicity or something that's going to drive this down, because believe me, there are a lot of people, disinfo individuals, which I believe there are a few out there that are actually known in the field, but I'm not going to get into that. But you have, we're all trying to get to that goal, and then these things happen, and it just makes it a laughing stock. Now, to go to another point, you got to remember the political climate that began last year. And people were very vocal, speaking about their opinions, and that's why on, like what you mentioned, Julia, on Facebook, I never posted political comments or things, because there's going to be both sides, and there's going to be some kind of reaction, and it's going to be really divided, because this country is pretty much, it's split down the middle. Now, I'm going to use this as an example. Look what happened this week with Kathy Griffith.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Now, this is the thing that I want to kind of use as an example, because, and even last night on Bill Maher's show, he made a comment.
Yeah.
But what did HBO do today? Or what did CNN do the day after? Because remember, she was a co-host for the New Year's Eve show with Anderson Cooper.
Yep.
They made an immediate statement. It does not reflect the organization, but what any individual does, they have to make some type of statement to say, well, this doesn't reflect our organization or opinions. This is the individual's own opinion, and they're not ours. So to me, it's when something happens, when you're part of an organization or whatever, where you have a standing, it's about accountability. And
it's about image.
Yes.
It's the image.
Oh, yeah, right.
Legally, and that was what he was saying. Legally, he talked to his lawyer. He could do it. That's not the point. The point is the image is ruined.
Exactly.
Right.
So, again, I was expecting to see something almost immediately afterward that would pretty much put that in perspective. A statement by the organization, saying that this is inappropriate, whatever. Okay. And like you said, Julia, whatever somebody does in their personal account, but there are people watching, especially if you have some type of a high-level position. People are noticing. And the thing that gets me, now, 2 weeks ago, we had the Pine Bush UFO Fair. I met Audrey Ewens. Her and Travis stayed over my home. You meet individuals like Peter Robbins or Mark D'Antonio, some of the others that were there. And they're such great people.
Oh, yeah.
Fascinating.
And the thing is,
level-headed.
Yes.
Very level-headed.
And
yes.
she's very passionate. I mean, she is... I was so impressed by Audrey. I mean, I love her to death after because we spoke a lot. The thing was, when everybody was here, I told everybody, just let Travis be. I want Travis to come and relax. And he did. So much so that next year, he wants to come back to Pine Bush, and he wants to stay in my home for the 2 nights. That's how great it was.
Beautiful.
Now, this is where I'm going with this. It should always be about the participants, the experiencers, the witness testimony, hybrids, whatever it is. It's about them. It's about the relevant individuals involved. When certain individuals have something going on as far as like a state director or whatever it is, they're supposed to be the ones navigating everything that's going on to bring these participants together. Right. So you have this is a really important role that you play, because now you are the channel which allows these people to go and to be part of your community so that others can learn from them, because that's another thing this is about, exposure. Right. We need to get this out to everybody. So again, when things like this happen, it really is it hurts me, because I want the truth. I know everybody's working to the same goals. And another thing, we all have to find a point with respect to agree to disagree.
Exactly.
In many cases, yes, indeed, absolutely.
I mean, there are some things about that, and I am not one. I believe, like Travis I had a conversation with him, in the positiveness, the role of extraterrestrials in their engagement with humanity. I am not one who's all for this negative, like Julia, like you said, the demonic or evil or sinister. That's just not me, but that's my opinion. But at the same time, I accept others coming from the other side and, saying to me, well, Bill, there's instances where people have had traumatic experiences where they say that, there was some kind of a sinister, nefarious agenda here. Okay, I'm good with that. But at the same time, I'm hearing this and I'm being objective, open-minded. I still have the right to my own opinion, but respect what the other person is bringing out. And that's, to me, that's what this whole thing, when it all broke out, that's what I was thinking. First, the organization's lack of a statement immediately thereafter. And secondly, when someone is attacking people, and just because you're trying to make your stance on an opinion, and the first thing you do, and that's a defense mechanism, and Michael, you know this with your background. It's a typical defense mechanism to attack someone else because you don't want to really look at yourself.
Exactly.
And self-examine what you said, because a lot of times, like the examples I just moved with Kathy and Bill Maher, a lot of the times when things happen, some people take immediate responsibility, and some people may look at it as being too late. But when you stand your ground, it's almost reiterating that, like you said, the apology, it's half-baked, because you're still standing on those principles that you said. So,
well, yeah.
So that's just my whole take on this whole thing. But I'm going to tell you, the best thing, and you know this both, is going to these conferences, or like what you both are doing on the radio show, and engaging with experiencers or people in the paranormal. This is the best, because now you're dealing directly with those individuals. It's not like, and I'm not saying this in any negative fashion, I'm going to write a book about things that happened in the past, and I'm just going to put my own spin on it.
and it's going to be Bill's book about Roswell. Well, like you said, we need new blood. We need new cases.
There is a new book about Roswell.
Don't you know what I mean?
A new theory.
That's the whole thing.
Somebody,
we need
that's
fresh.
it. That's what it's about.
Exactly. So that's just my take because
Well,
that's it.
what I thought, just one final note on this move on thing. I feel in this whole situation, and I'm sure it's not just me, made me feel extremely uncomfortable. Number one, because I was under this person, and I felt I had to make.
Okay, enough of that. I did my rant. I went absolutely ballistic. I just couldn't stop. I was flowing. And bang, what happens? But I guess everybody here that was listening gets the idea. There's just it's almost like a political environment. There's so much infighting, and it's sad. It's really tragic, and that's why a lot of people, when they hear the term acronym MUFON, they go whoa, and they are taken aback because they hear about all this BS that goes on, and I mean, there's a lot of great individuals doing great work within MUFON. There are. But when something happens, you have to come out and correct it. And you've got to make a statement. And that was my point, using those other two individuals. I mean, it's the responsible thing to do. It kind of makes you think what the person's role, not just as far as their standing, but is there other things that are going on? Who knows? Maybe he's a big donator, or he supports majorly through financial means. I don't know. So I'm just being hypothetical here. I'm not making that as a statement. I don't know that to be the case, but you have to wonder. You have to wonder why didn't they come out sooner with a statement and allow that? And like I said, of course people are entitled to have expressed their own personal opinions. But you have to make it clear the opinions of the individuals are not the opinion of the organization. That's all you have to say. I mean, if you want to go further and talk in some more stringent terms, you can do so. But at least make some type of statement. That's just the whole thing that I got off of it. And it's like so sad. I mean, everything is attack this, attack that, attack this one. Let's bring this one down. It's like I said, it's so much ego. There's so many people that want to be the voice on top, looking down at everyone else. And as Jello might know and will know, just listen to the song "The Trees" by Rush. And you're going to have these individuals that want to stand above everyone else and be the voice of reason. When a lot of them, yes, they do research. Yes, they write great books, or sometimes they don't. But a lot of them never had experiences. A lot of them are pure skeptical of what's going on. I mean, I can't see that. I'd rather deal like I said, and I told them, I'd rather work with people that are working in the field. The field investigators who get very little credit, by the way. The guys and gals that are out there doing the work, going out and doing the investigations, like Al and Chad going out and doing paranormal investigations. He was in Nuclear Lake last week. Just going out there and doing it. Those are the people that I really am interested about. And here's another sad point, which a lot of people take advantage. Well, I'll use you in a book but they won't even offer any kind of fees or anything. It's I'm telling you, it's a sad state when stuff like that happens. And like I said, I would rather speak with the people that are having the experiences, the sightings, those that are doing the research, the real work. And yes, don't get me wrong. I love and enjoy listening to people that really know their stuff, like an archaeologist out on the field, and he's been all over the world, or she's been all over the world, and are doing the hands-on again work, going to Egypt, Peru, Bosnia, wherever the heck they're going, traveling the world, or maybe someone I deem credible that's doing research on a specific topic. I mean, to me, that's what it's about also. But again, it's insanity that everybody is so bent on their own ego and being the one. I always say this. Let's just say disclosure happens. Let's just say, can you imagine all these people coming out in ufology from the woodworks? I told you so. This happened. It's their egos are going to go through the absolute sky. Absolutely. It's going to be insane. They'll be on every media outlet, show, social media. They'll be everywhere. And you know what? It'll still be about the me aspect. I was right. It was my opinion. I said so. You know, they're all going to be right. All of them. Regardless, they're all going to be right. Because they'll still make the claim, well, I told you so. I mean, they're going to come out. It's just going to, and the sad part is those people, the actual people who've been having the experience, whether traumatic or not, everything that we've known to be a lie. Because obviously, if the truth comes out, Pandora's box is now open and everything's got to come out. Everything's got to come out. They have to. I mean, I think the public would be absolutely chaotic and going crazy if the government just is still in denial after the fact disclosure occurred. They'll still be in denial. Guaranteed they'll still be in denial. They'll say, oh, we never knew. This is something that just happened. We have no idea this was going to happen. Yeah, right. Give me a break. And then, of course, you're going to have people, like I said to them, classifying them as demons and evil and, oh, my. And you obviously, some may also see it on the other side of it all. Angels, the second coming, who knows? But it's going to be, if it happens, everything from that day on changes. You will see nothing, no mention of war, social concerns, anything else. It's all going to be about the ET on a global scale. Now, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, that's yet to be seen. But maybe everybody will be on the same page. Instead of fighting with each other, maybe we'll all be like, okay, we have a new game in town. We all have something that we have to deal with. And that is the ET aspect. Because everybody, even if you think about it, the people that are from any religion are going to say, either way, like I said, it's either evil or good. So I guess we're all going to have to come to grips that each one is going to, now it's going to be broken down where religions are going to say, well, this is God's creation or this is the devil's work. They're evil or whatever. I mean, now it's going to at least be broken down into 2 categories. And I mean, It's just something that makes you look at what we're dealing with now, and in the coming full circle, just where we're at now, where we could be, and why are we where we are now, and why aren't where we should be. Maybe that's the question that needs to be asked. Because once that happens, all bets are off, and the government's more than aware of this. Also, you know that different institutions are more than aware of this, and believe me, they are in the know. There is no way, in my opinion, and again, this is my opinion, that the Catholic Church isn't working hand in hand with the U.S. government on whatever there is as far as ET relation is concerned. You know they are. Just think about the power of the Vatican. Think about their intelligence service within the Vatican. One of the best in the world. Up there with the Mossad. And, ours too, even though you hear a lot of BS what's going on now. And of course, the Russians and, a few other elite intelligence agencies. But think about that. Think about the power they hold. You know they're in cahoots. You know it. So again, it's going to be one of those things where the veil must be dropped. And will the truth come out? Will it ever come out? I don't think so. I don't think they know better than to say, well, we knew all along. They know better than to say that. Because think about every conspiracy we've ever thought as a conspiracy can now be subject, and everybody will be saying, well, if you lied about this for decades, what else have you lied to us about? People will be coming out. It will be party day like never before for a person like Alex Jones. Think about it. All these people that talk conspiracies, I mean, even the flat earthers will be dancing till they think they're going to fall off the sides. It's just going to be insanity. Can you imagine what our streets are going to look like? Or protests in Central Park? People setting up in the middle of a park some kind of a landing strip so they can come land there? Parties going on? Can you just think about some people now, and there's this aspect too. Some people will take full advantage of it and do bad things. They may loot. They may go out there and start ravaging. You have to worry about your safety because, I mean, people, it's sad as it is to say this, but people will use anything that happens and use it for their own nefarious means and commit heinous acts. Oh, I'll blame it on the aliens. I'm scared to death. The end of the world, Armageddon. Because another thing that's going to happen is the media is going to go insane with the publicity, and they're going to put it all over. People are going to look at that, and they're going to think they're going to have to run to the hills. So, I mean, I'm just saying all kinds of possibilities. I'm not saying that any one of the things I just said are factual. I'm just being hypothetical, obviously. And I'm sure, again, that's what it's all about. Agree to disagree. But it's going to be really interesting. Also, it's going to be interesting who they choose. What I always wondered, who they're going to choose to represent humanity. Will it be scientists, philosophers? I mean, the last people. I mean, it's going to happen anyway. You know there's going to be a government role, military, politicians. You know that's going to happen. It's going to be interesting to see how that would even happen. And again, this is all hypothetical and speculative, and I just really wonder what that day is going to bring. What's going to happen when disclosure is finally announced or declared, or it's just something that, and which Marco said earlier, I totally agree. it's definitely not coming from within the government. It's going to come, either there's just no way to ignore it and they're just going to make themselves known here, or somebody is going to catch it, social media, or believe it or not, watch out for third world countries. Watch out for some other country that's not in the global control network of countries come out with it and throw a wrench in the whole system. You never know. I see that as a possibility. And then, there is also the scientific aspect of it all. Finding, you'll see hints of, well, we just found microscopic life on Europa. What else did you find that you're not showing us? See, that's the thing. I question everything. They don't show us half the stuff that's going on. They don't show us not even a fraction. We don't even know what's going on. The X-37B, that's just for show. Oh, yeah, we got this thing that goes around the planet every 2 years. That's for show. That's for the public's consumption. What else do they have that they're not showing us? I mean, that's what, to me, that's the significant part. It's what we don't know. So it's going to be really fascinating to see where this all goes. But hopefully, in the meantime, maybe like we've had people on here where we try to find more in common than less than we don't have. I mean, of course, if my neighbor and I have disagreements, that doesn't mean I'm enemies. I love my neighbors. I love my friends. Do I agree with everything they say? Hell no. But I still respect them, and I respect their opinion. And I think that's the grand word here, respect. And also try to stop attacking each other. It drives me nuts. I mean, come on. There's got to come a time where we come together. I mean, really. And that was the great thing when everybody was here for the Pine Bush thing. We all got along like family. It was awesome. And we didn't get into these quabbles about politics or religion or this or that. We just had fun. And we did the things that we know we share, the interests. Find the commonality. A lot can happen when you do that. Instead of focusing on all the negativity, focus on the positive. So it's one thing. Again, I have total respect for everyone's opinions. But that doesn't mean I need to agree. It's not like we have to be forced. There's boundaries in everything. As long as, someone doesn't cross the boundary, it's all good. I mean, taking action and doing things. And we've seen that. We've seen that recently with Congressman Scalise. It's one thing to vent your frustration, but there's so much anger. It doesn't mean you go out and grab a gun and shoot a congressman. Or maybe, thankfully, there was his service detail there. Otherwise, so many more might have gotten injured or possibly died. I mean, this is insanity. It needs to stop. I mean, wow. We're living, it's a fragile environment. It really is. But thankfully, I surround myself with people that are positive. All of you in chat are awesome people. And do we agree all the time? Do you agree with each other all the time? Hell no. But it doesn't mean we're going to go at war with each other or stop being friends on Facebook or start cursing at each other. Well, sometimes. Tana. But it's just, I mean, I don't get it. I'm such a sociable person, and am I perfect? Hell no, far from it. I made a terrible, huge, horrible mistake in my life, but I'm not gonna make that define me, or it's not gonna be something that's gonna eat me up because I took responsibility. I've dealt with it. I moved on in my life, and that's the thing. If you don't learn from your mistake, then you're a done deal. Then you're a fool. I mean, we always try to strive to be better people. I hope. Improve relations. I mean, it baffles me. And that's why, like I said, I don't post anything when I was on Facebook a while back, and now I'm back. But I would be very careful not to even enter that void. Because I had family members that felt so strongly, and I was like, wow, they'll stop talking to me. I backed off. Thanksgiving here, I stayed out of it. Everybody was in the kitchen, in the dining room, talking politics. I stayed here, right by the control center. I was watching TV, listening to music. I didn't want nothing to do with it. Just keep me out of it, because I know where this is going to go. So, and another thing, prayers, condolences for the families of the 7 sailors on the destroyer that were lost, also those that were injured. Tragic accident, and I hope that's fully investigated how that had happened. Also, to all those in the UK over the last few months, especially going through what they've been going through, also the fire. First of all, it has to stop. Whether they need to me, I don't understand this. I know we have freedom of speech, but why aren't they just shutting down these sites that are coming from these extremist groups? Shut them down. Why are you allowing this to be put out there? Shut them down. Don't give anybody an outlet to have access to this stuff. It doesn't make sense to me. You know, but it just needs to stop, the violence. But again, we also have to consider the other side, and we have to think about all the action that's going on and the people that are suffering, the refugees in Syria. And if you just look at the plight of what's going on, and I'm not making excuses for their own governments, and I'll get to that in a second, but when you see images of Syria or Mosul in Iraq or some of these other locations, how poor these countries are. I mean, the people look like they're starving, the poverty. And then you have all this unrest politically, the theocracies and everything else. I mean, it is really sad to see that. It is heartbreaking to see these people losing their lives. I mean, how many times do we hear civilians getting killed or injured on bombings from either side? Either side. It's really sad. And also, what happened to our soldiers in Afghanistan. Again, infiltrators. There's got to be a better screening process for this. There just needs to be something better than allowing people to infiltrate and harm our soldiers, our staff. There's civilians there as well. It's just insane. It's just crazy. But the first thing they always say, and happy birthday to Arnie. Happy birthday to Arnie. And again, like I said, I try to stay away from political talk because I am not going to get involved in that either way, both sides. I just like to when I do the show with the veteran on Sunday nights, I just bring him certain what I think are credible sources as far as military is involved. I go to sites, not mainstream media. I go to other outlets to find information because you could look at it either far left, far right, CNN, Fox. Pick your poison. I just don't go there. I don't traverse the mainstream media sites. I'll go to, say, military.com or some other sites like that. And I'm just looking at stories, what's going on globally, and I'll mention it to him. I do not get into political views, opinions, etc. I just say, well, like, for instance, for an example, this Sunday, I will talk about the destroyer, the accident, the investigation process involved, those that lost their lives and those that were injured, and I'll just put it to him. Or the United States shooting down a Syrian jet, things like that. I just stay with basic topics and see what his response is as a vet. Will there be retaliation? Is this going to widen itself out now throughout the region where you've got everybody involved throwing in? The Iranians launch missiles. The Russians are saying we're now targets. The Allied coalition is saying we're going to hold our ground. And that's what I'll tell them. So that's just an example. So it looks like, as far as this being a storm watch, it looks like the storm has moved through. It's fizzled out. It's a done deal. I'm gonna check the radar and see where that's going. And I apologize to everyone that's listening or watching about my little rant just now. I guess listening to myself on the show got me started. Let's see what we're dealing with here with the weather. And if it looks like the storms have moved in, I'm going to cut the stream, and I'll probably be doing a Skywatch on the next clear night, as long as it's not Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Make sure to check out, of course, P&K Space Imaging and Mark D'Antonio's work from his observatory at the home. So there's plenty of stuff out there to enjoy and watch, and I've been filling in time to time for Race as a fill-in producer during the week. He's really busy, overwhelmed with station stuff, so I've been busy. It comes back to me. So absolutely, the storms are gone. They have moved into Connecticut, into New York City. I am in the clear. It is absolutely a done deal. There is another line forming. Let's see where this line is moving. There is another line forming in central New York State to the upper portion central of Pennsylvania. So let's see where this is moving. But the main area of rain has moved through. Nope, this line looks like it's moving northeast too, so it's not even going to come close. It's a done deal. Just checking the rest of the radar. Actually, that's moving. Oh, that's moving. That's moving east, but it's dissipating. It's losing its energy. It won't even make it here. Plus, the atmosphere has been cooled down with all this rain. It's not that heat, that humid, tropical moisture in the air no more. It's taking it out. So it's a done deal. So, and hello to Julie at AFS. Yeah, it should be cooler out. I actually got to go check out my pool because it's probably overflowing right now. It won't overflow, but the skimmer will, being an above ground pool. So I've got to check it out to see what's going on with the pump. So I guess we will call it a wrap for this little session. And remember to tune in to what Paul and Keith are doing. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe and get the notifications when they do go on. And also the same goes for Mark D'Antonio. So make sure to do that. And matter of fact, I'm going to take one more look at the weather, see what the skies are going to look like the next few nights. And then I'm really waiting for August for the Perseids, even though the moon is going to be an issue. Ugh. Also, for those in the United States, don't forget about August 21st, the solar eclipse. Pretty much if you live anywhere throughout the central states, whether going from west to east, east to west, if you cut a line right through the United States, you're going to be in a good viewing area, perfect location for the solar eclipse, August 21st. And we will be able to see it from up here, but not the way they are in the central portion of the United States. Wow. So if you live anywhere in those states, look it up, do your research, find out what states are going to have the absolutely perfect view of the solar eclipse. And definitely go check that out, because that's going to be amazing. And can you imagine a sunset in California? I think it's actually going to be Oregon, where they're going to have the perfect view. And to see, I think they're going to see the sun setting with an eclipse. That would be awesome. I believe that is what's going to happen out west. I'm not sure, but I think. So it's either that or it's going to be, I may have it reversed. It may be the sunrise. I don't think so, though. To the east, I think it's more to the west. I have to look into that more, but you can do the research and find out. Well, tomorrow night, mostly clear. So if any night's going to be the night, it's going to be tomorrow night to do a sky watch. So stay tuned for that. And Paul and Keith will have the solar eclipse live from Nashville, Tennessee. So there you go. August 21st. I'm going to help you right now because I'm going to end the stream. So we'll go outside and put everything back now. All the furniture could go back. So actually, I'm going to go outside and... Heck yeah, I'm going to do that. All right, everybody. Till the next time, have a great day, great night, great morning, wherever you may be. And we'll do it maybe tomorrow night. But don't forget, tune into P&K Space Imaging on YouTube or Mark D'Antonio's channel. Sub now. And go check it out. All right. Till the next time, everybody. Be well, be safe. And we'll do it again soon. Yes, like Mom is saying. Arrivederci. I'm out of here.